My name is Kevin. I am an addict. Instead of going into the evils of drugs, I would like to focus on addiction, namely my own. I'd like to share with you a little bit about how it was, what I did to change, and what it's like for me now. Who is an addict? As an addict, most of us don't have to think twice about this question. We know. Our whole life and thinking was centered in drugs in one form or another. The getting, using, finding ways and means to get more. We live to use and use to live. Very simply, an addict is a man or a woman whose life is controlled by drugs. We are people in the grip of a continuing and progressive illness, whose ends are always the same: jails, institutions, or death. A little bit about myself. I started using back in 1974 and continued to use until 1999. I experimented with cocaine, mushrooms, acid, alcohol, but I perfected my use of marijuana. This was my drug of choice. Now, I didn't get into the type of trouble that most addicts get into. I didn't go to prison or jail. I didn't lose my job. But many of the problems that befall me are typical of the story of an addict. I continued to use even when my wife says stop using. I continued to use even after the birth of my children. I continued to use even though my wife says we can't afford it. My answer to these dilemmas were based in the fact that marijuana for me was a priority in my life. When my wife says, I don't want you to use marijuana anymore, I hear, I don't want you using marijuana in front of me anymore, and consequently I didn't come home enough. When my wife says we can't afford it, I chose to work harder, find extra jobs, put in extra hours at work so that we could afford it. Most of all, I was emotionally retarded. There was a certain disconnect that I was not bridging with my family due to marijuana, and eventually, after 15 years, she did divorce me. I get a lot of people that ask me, is marijuana addicting? And of course not, marijuana is not addicting. But then again, neither is food or power or money or eBay for that matter. What I was seeking out was a short-term feel-good, obsessing about it and then compulsively doing it over and over and over again to the exclusion of my wife, my kids, my health, my security, my well-being. This is not a problem with drugs. This is a thinking problem. What happened was, eventually, I became sick and tired of some substance, something having control over my life. Now, many people asked me to stop. There were many reasons to stop, and yet I didn't stop. I did stop when I decided that I was sick and tired of not being in control of my life. For me, I chose the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. What I found attractive about this program was that it is a suggested program. And that is to say that the answers they gave me are suggested. Go to 90 meetings in 90 days. Get a sponsor. Get the book. Read the book. Work the steps. Work the program. You see, many of us addicts do not like being told what to do. We have a saying in Narcotics Anonymous, and that is that you can always tell an addict, but you just can't tell him much. And this was a program that only suggested that it offers a better way of life. They made me one promise, and that was that an addict, any addict, can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way of life. Now, in that journey to find a new way of life, what I found was that I was suffering from a spiritual void. I've seen a vast majority of the people who come into the rooms of NA fail. So why was it different for me? Perhaps because I found the reason why I used, and it was that I had a spiritual void. I found that the only thing that will fill a spiritual void is spirituality. Now, I don't define one's spirituality. nor does Narcotics Anonymous. It may be religion, God, meditation, inner peace, Buddha. For me, it was finding my true essence, my path that best served me, my family, my community. And I found that the way to do this was to carry the message of recovery to the addict who still suffers, to carry it into prisons, hospitals, jails, institutions, and being of service to the organization that helped serve my life. Am I cured? No, of course not. I will struggle with addiction for the rest of my life, keeping an eye on myself and my behavior and my thinking, and continue to fulfill my spiritual self with spirituality and not with some short-term feel-good. Today, I have a wonderful relationship with my family, with my children. I've learned to hug them, and I've learned to tell them that I love them every single time that I see them. And today, they do believe that I do love them. Today, when I wake up, my happiness is not based upon how much green leafy material I have in my pocket at the time. Today, I feel like I have a purpose in life and that I'm fulfilling that purpose. On August 11th, I celebrated 13 years clean and sober. And I'm not saying that Narcotics Anonymous is the answer. I'm only saying that for me, Narcotics Anonymous was my answer. And I stand before you today, living proof that there is hope for recovery. And to the people of Narcotics Anonymous who helped me turn my life around and figure out what my true purpose is, I will be forever grateful.